Hello and welcome to another tutorial in Maya. Today, let's check out how to add some Toonlines to a logo. This is a really basic thing, but it's very tasteful and it's almost always used. So this is something that you can easily pick up on and do on this type of thing all the time. What I've done is basically just assigned a Toonline to the logo here, and just animated it a little bit, and then I have a ramp shader applied to the logo, and then I have a little light that cruises under here to kind of give it a little bit of a variance in the light level there when it hits the end. So okay, so real easy. We're going to go through this and set it up from scratch. I'm going to show you how to do a Toonline, and you'll be off and running. So let's get started. I'm going to move that out of the way, and I'm going to come up here, and basically I'm going to just come to a project I already have started. I'm just going to open up my, let's see here, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to open up my Start project there, and I don't need to save that. So when I start out, I'm just have this, I have a logo. You can create some text or some geometry or anything you want. This works with just about any kind of object, so feel free to create whatever you want. In this case, I've got the logo, and what I want to do first is I want to select the whole thing. So let's just sort of select that, and I'm going to come up here, and usually you have tabs, or you may have tabs, you may not, but find your tune right here. If you have your tabs up here, go to the Tune tab, and you'll see where it opens up some options here. What I want is this one right here, the one with the plus sign, and I'm just going to click on that plus. And as you can see, it added some lines. They're basically all black right now by default. So what we're interested in getting started with here is we want to assign a color, and we sort of want them not quite as thick. So let's work on the color first. You'll notice that under your profile line here you have a profile color. Go ahead and click on your profile color, and I'm just going to choose this green right here, and I'll hit accept. I'm going to do the same for my crease color. I'm going to go ahead and hit green. I'll hit accept, and I'll do the same thing for my border color. I'll just basically do them all green at the moment. And you'll notice if I do a render, I'm going to click on the render there real quick. Here's what it looks like. Basically just a very thick green line all the way around, and that may or may not be what you want. I don't know. In some cases it's perfect, but in this case I want to go for a very thin pin line around my logo there. So I'm going to move that to the side here, and let's start working with our line widths. Right now by default Maya starts out at like 1, so I'm actually going to want to go to 0.100 on that. And then I'm going to come down here to my crease line, and I'm going to do the same thing for that. Set that at about 0.100. And then we're going to come down here to our borderline width and do the same. Okay, so now when I do a render, let's see, that's where we were at, and I'm going to do another render. Now we're in the ballpark. That looks kind of cool. It's kind of what we want. You're going to be doing a lot of rendering, so keep that in mind. Just to give you an idea of what's happening here, I'm going to assign this crease line with a different color, and we're going to see what happens. I'm going to give it a blue, and then I'll go ahead and hit accept. We'll do another render, and now you can see where the blue shows up. That's the difference between a profile line and a crease line. So play around with that. You'll notice that the profile line kind of outlines your object and whatnot here, and that your crease line sort of highlights some stuff on the inside. Now your border line is also going to do some stuff. You may or may not see it depending on what type of geometry you have selected. So for the moment I'm just going to leave my border color green, but you get the idea. That's what happens. If you want to increase your line width, all you got to do is just move that up. And actually I'm going to move my render view out of the way here. My crease line width I moved up. I'm going to move that back down. So you can see kind of, you can whack it out all you want. But I'll give it just a little bit of width. I'll give it that 0.100 where I started. And I think in this case I'm just going to switch back to my green color. And remember, you can always click on a color, like let's say this one was blue. You can choose your I got a bug in my program, you guys. Let me get back to where we were at here. Somehow whenever I choose my my color chooser tool here, it decides to black out. And that might be because of my screen recording program, so I'm sorry about that. You know, buggy stuff. Okay, so anyway, let's get back to business. Where were we? We're assigning colors. So now my crease color is gray. I'll just go ahead and do it the old-fashioned way and click in there, click my color chooser, and there it is. So I'll go ahead and hit accept. So let's do a quick render. Here's where we were at, and here's where we are now. Okay, so I've got my color all around there, and I like that. So I'm just going to leave it there. Now let's look at a couple of other things. You'll notice up here at the top, you have some various line widths. Under your common attributes, you can have a line width where you can increase your line width from here, and then you can do other, adjustments with your line widths on your profile and whatnot. Feel free to play around with these. Just whack them out and see what they do. Move your slider up and down. Don't be afraid to really see what's happening up there, and go from there. Your offset, your thinning. Really, the line extend is kind of cool, because watch this. When I grab the line extend and I pull that up, it sort of extends those lines all over the place, which kind of gives it a wacky look. Now, let's say I had a 100 frame animation going here. I could basically start with that line extended all the way up there, and I could come in here and right mouse click and set a key, and then I could come all the way up to say maybe the 50th frame or so, and then bring this back down to 0, and then right mouse click and then set another key. And now when I start the animation, you'll notice that we got all those cool lines kind of doing that kind of thing. So that's just something cool to know. You can do it with geometry. It works great for architectural stuff and whatnot. So that's just something to be aware of. Right now, what I'm going to do though is I think I'll just leave it for the time being, because we're not really doing too much. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and assign a ramp shader now. I'm going to build a quick ramp shader for this, and in order to do that, we're going to have to pull up our hypershade. Now, a ramp shader is sort of a universal cool thing. There's 1,000,001 uses for them. We're just going to do one real simple like here, so you can get used to dealing with a ramp. So I'll go ahead and just click on that blend right there with my left mouse click, and I'm going to come down here, and then I'm also going to middle mouse click and hold down on the ramp, and I'm going to bring it over here and drop it on top of my blend 2. And I'm going to go, and it'll bring up this little menu. Just go ahead and drop it on that default. Okay, so now we have a ramp shader, and it's called blend 2. And as you can see over here, here's our attributes for our ramp. Now, this is where ramps are really fun, because you can create any color or ramp you want. In this case, I'm going to just go with a black to a white, basically. So I'll click in this blue box right here. Here's my color. I'm going to click on my color, and I'm going to set that at, say, black. And then I'm going to click on my middle color here, and you'll see where it brings up that middle green. And I'm going to go to maybe a mid-gray. And then I'm going to come in here to my one down here, and it's the red. I'm going to just assign that a white. Now you can see I have a gradiated ramp, just kind of just a cool ramp. So that's all I want. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to select the whole thing, and I'm going to right mouse click and come down to existing material, and we're going to assign it that blend 2. That was the color of our ramp. So there we go. Now let's take a render and see what it looks like. We were there before, and now I'm going to take a render, and now you can see where I get that nice gradation, sort of a black to a white. You can do anything you want with these ramps. I'm going to move it out of the side here, and we'll move our hypershade back in, and let's choose this blend 2 again, and actually we'll choose the ramp, and that gives us our qualities for the ramp here. Now let's change this to say maybe something like a green. We'll go with that dark green, or something maybe in the middle. Okay, and I'll go ahead and hit accept. Now if we do another render, let's see what it looks like. It'll adjust to whatever we set our colors to. So that's how the ramp works. You can set this middle one maybe to a different color right here. We might want to assign that a, let's just go with something wacky for the moment. We'll go with that. And then let's take our white and go there. And I don't really like that, so let's just start with a gray and maybe give it a, let's see, let's get rid of this pink. That's just way too much. Let's go into the middle there. That looks kind of nice. All right, so now we've messed around with the ramp a little bit, and let's take another render and see what happens. And there it is. So now you can see the benefit of having, say, like Toonlines and a ramp assigned. You can give all sorts of definition to a logo or some text or anything that you're doing. And essentially it's pretty simple, so not much to think about there. And then you can add some lights and animate those lights, sort of maybe make a light sweep across, you know, here to there or whatever, and that'll throw some light across there. But you know, that's just a basic, very, very basic concept of using a Toonline and a ramp shader. So get to work on that, play around with your Toonlines. If you need to find them, they normally are down here in your outliner. You can usually find it under PFX Toon 1, or you know, you may have several different objects with different Toonlines on them with different colors. So this is just set up for one, and that's all I did. Now go ahead and feel free to play around with you know, all your other stuff down here. There's up here at the top, if you'll notice, there's an offset where you can sort of extend the offset of your line. Let's see, it's under line offset. Watch what happens when I bring that up. You can see where those Toonlines sort of like get kind of out of the picture. And if I do a render on that now, you'll see it kind of reflects exactly what I'm doing. I'm offsetting that line and bringing it outside of the geometry. It's kind of cool for an effect, but really, you know, it's not working for me. So anyway, I'll bring that line offset back down to like nothing, and that basically just takes the line back down to the very edge of your object. And then you have your opacity. So remember, if you bring your opacity all the way down and do a render, this is what you're going to get, something that looks like that. You can bring your opacity back up into the middle, and we'll do another render, and there it is. So you can adjust your opacity on your line and all that. So anyway, go ahead and play around with all of those options and take a look at what they do. Basically you're going to be rendering a lot, so enjoy the render. Usually I set mine at 640 by 480 just to get a really quick render, but this one's set at 720 and it's almost like lightning fast. So if I make a change on something here and go ahead and do a render, you know, it shows up really fast. So anyway, it's the concept that we're after here, and thinking about interesting ways to use that to outline, you know, geometry or something like that. So go ahead and have fun, play around with that, and as always, read a book, learn something, and thanks for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. I may be off for a week or so, so you know, that'll be the reason why, and stay tuned for the next tutorial. And we'll get more into some advanced Toonline stuff as we go along, because this is just the very start of it, but it's important that you get this concept down. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.